Yes. Well, I'm fifth generation here. Yes, in Fort Dig.
Okay.
Yeah. Um, so my great great grandparents came and they built the first fire hall that the people were using to help remove the forts so the military would leave. They were a type of people that knew how to build community and helped the rest of the community build. So they came specifically for that. They decided that they'd be moving to build a new community here and help be with the natives and help with the trajectory that the natives were already on. And they already had a government. And they wanted to help the situation, and they've known from experience in the past to remove the forts. Once you remove the forts, then you save the natives, and you save the culture, and you save the community's heart. So that was my grandparents had shared with me and explained to me what they had learned from growing up and been taught. And that's the best thing for a community to keep their heart. My grandparents explained to me also that it's up to the land. The land chooses. And in Crescent City, the land chose. And culture was a little different in Crescent City with the Yurok. And then in Fort Dig, it was more of a Talawa feel. And it was different. And that was one thing I came from two different types of families that grew up right there in Fort Dig from where my grandparents came from, the Sargent side and the Cheney side. The Cheney side had some gypsy blood and came from the Mid-South. And I'm not even sure where the Sargents originally came from before here. There has been kind of some discrepancies, but originally it's an English name, and it means to serve. Sargent does. Yeah, and so I come from a long line of those. My grandmother and my mother came from Arkansas too. My grandparents brought her over. And she was professionally taught for piano, and she was a teacher, and they wanted to bring an actual taught teacher that had the education into the area too, because it was a very young area, and they needed formally taught individuals as well. So from the connections they had in Arkansas, they brought my mother over. And this helped the community, naturally get some education and grow. But I have a deep history within my mother's side also that during the Civil War was the second time that they changed their names. They were deeply Irish. And they changed their names just before the Civil War, and they were on both sides of the war. And they were to help the Aboriginists and the Aboriginist movement on both sides to bring peace. So I come from a long bloodline of people that wanted to build community and focus on the heart of community and the storytelling. If you know anything about Aboriginists and that movement and the Jellies, they're storytellers, and they preserved community stories with song. And so I have a lot of supports in my family that had taught me about the background that I really enjoyed and latched onto really young as a little girl. My grandparents were liked that I really wanted to hear more and learn about that, because it was hard with their son. They only had one child, so they didn't have 8 to 12 like they usually do. Right. And so they had, slim pickings. So this
history.
Well, my hair's kind of dirty blonde, but yeah.
It's still darker
Yeah.
than blonde.
Right.
Those blue
But
eyes,
yes,
so,
right.
Yeah, so just
You
wondering,
know,
especially with
up in the
Irish.
Ozarks, there's Irish, and my family actually were up in the Ozarks
Okay.
in Arkansas. So it's the Arkansas Ozarks. They have a completely different language there.
Yeah.
I had my grandmother was one of the youngest, and so I had a whole bunch of very old aunts and uncles, and they talked a different language. Now the Cheneys moved here from way back, from the very beginnings of in the mid 1800s, and that's when they came, as well as the Sargents. And so, but they brought my mother over from ties they still had in Arkansas. Right.
Right. So
Right.
Kind of
Yes.
to speak with
That's
somebody
awesome.
from the other side of the Civil War.
Right. My family decided to separate. My mother's side of the family decided to separate from the rest of the family because they chose to fight for both sides of the war and make peace. Yes. Right. And so they decided to change their name specifically just before the Civil War really was in the middle of it, because they were on both sides, and they were fighting both for the Aborigines on both sides to bring peace. No, but they were both on both sides, so they could help bring peace. They were, they weren't just on one side. They were on both sides to try to help facilitate that on both ends. Yeah. I'm not sure about all those details right now at the moment. It's a different value. My grandmother also had lots of magazines from like the 30s, 40s, and 50s in the attic. Oh my gosh, can't tell you how much of education that was.
Right.
That was really interesting to be able to reflect with her in the 80s about how women should think and all of those. Yes, how they thought about women. Yeah, it was really interesting. I could see that reflection that I was asking my grandmother, well, why were they? I could tell they were like telling women how to think. And in the 80s, as a little girl still, but I was like, so by the time in the 80s, you're thinking, what? Telling someone how to think, And it's like, why did they do that? Or, men, how they should look at women, I think one of the real interesting commercials, I think it's about 12 or something, I was talking to my grandmother, and there's a commercial for Lysol, which was actually a feminine product back in the day, which is very scary. Yes, yes, different time. But the way they spoke about it was really strange. It's like, if your husband's cheating on you, well then maybe it's your fault and you need to use this feminine thing so that you are cleaner. It's some of those Right. I'm 48, so yeah. We would just, it's just so much. I don't want to get really into all of it, but yes, it's a real interesting because then my parents, so my grandparents and their grandparents, so they had the first fire hall, and then they had big mechanic shop and horseshoeing and buggy wheels, manufacturing buggy wheels. So it was a craft and horseshoeing and stuff, and um, my great grandfather helped keep the wheels on the county, the city, and he was the first bus barn for the schools. And then when he was retiring, he was a bus driver, and he started the first standardized garbage company. I mean, we did have Klamath Sanitation, but that basically was, sure, we'll pick up your garbage. We're still going to go to an area over and just throw it over the cliff, Yeah. Yeah. Right. Mm-hmm. Oh, definitely fishing.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Right. I think we should preserve them. I have my grandfather's old um, horseshoeing. Um, I'm escape from words right now, but it used to, you turn it. It's like this great big seashell looking thing, and you turn it, and it heats up, and you do horseshoes with it. No, but it's a really great thing since we do have horses in the area. If someone were to want to do that, that'd be great. I do know how to trim horseshoes.
I understand.
You know,
What I'm saying is
well, economy is an interesting thing, though. I think economy needs to be focused on what we have right now and not try to think we need other things. We need, let's start focusing on what we've had, what worked. If it's not broke, don't fix it. Oh, it's definitely broken because we're falling away from what we used to do. That's the problem. Well, we used to have a lot more community gatherings and meetings and things of that nature, especially before COVID, but even before that, where we've had things drop off, like where we used to go learn to drive, where we used to go hunt hog. Those things have been slowly dropping off from a culture of people that need some camaraderie. We come from people that came here and they're absolutely insane, you know. Yeah. Yes, that was a thing. I go up in mountains, and when you have children, especially the boys, that come to age to go hunting and hunt hog. Wait, but the state decided to kill them all because that's what they thought. And then about 10, 15 years after that, root rot. Well, what causes root rot is the lack of aeration, which was what the hogs are doing. So it's very strange how they'll intervene with things that have been there for a few generations. And then something wrong happens, just like the shores. Oh, can't drive your quads. We have some kind of plant or something that, oh, you're interrupting. And then they stop doing that. And then all of a sudden there's this invasive thing that actually starts occurring. And then they have to go through and do that. So it's why interrupted? Yeah.
Because the plants have been growing there for millennia.
It was a good balance.
Quads. They didn't
Right.
need quads to grow there. So,
Right.
I mean, I get what you're saying.
Yeah. There was a worse problem once the quad stopped. Yeah.
There were hogs in Delaware County before.
Right. But
Europeans showed up and introduced them.
Right.
Forest existed.
But it was a thing that the forest got used to after a few generations. And that's the thing. Once a forest and the surroundings starts getting used to that type of activity after a few generations, that's when you'll start seeing, if you start changing it, you'll start seeing something in the environment that isn't as
adapt again back to what the new thing is. If they can adapt to the introduction of quads or hogs,
right.
They just adapt to the not having them again.
But it ruins the homeostasis within what the people were doing. Like we were driving out there, we were doing our quads and stuff, and then they changed that environment. We're hunting hog, we're changing that environment, taking those skills away from us, taking those things away that we're needing for our homeostasis. And then that did have a balance, and it was a balance within the environment, and they took it away, and then an imbalance started happening. That's my whole point. Okay. The imbalance started happening with the root rot. It's like, well, you just got rid of the hogs that actually were helping aerate that. And then the grass that was really invasive, and they had to go out there and have teams of people to go pull it and do all kinds of whatever it was, or some kind of plant that started growing because the quads weren't out there taking care of it, because the land got used to a balance. And they might have had something out there that was, oh, we're going to use this excuse that you can't ride your quads because of this one particular thing, but it was still out there. But then once the quads are removed, it took over the things they were trying to keep there and having another problem. So it's just like, it just brings imbalance within the whole system. We start changing things all of a sudden. Yeah. That's all I'm saying.
You talk about balance a lot and the different within our community.
Oh, well, I'm actually working on a website app that it's different than Facebook, because you have each room that you go into, and it's a mechanical room. You have one that you talk about sewing, and one cooking, politics, religion. So you know what you're doing when you go into the room, and each one has a calendar. Each one has a representation of that room. And you get to have potlucks, and there's a sign-up sheet so you can have potlucks. So I'm right now in the middle of developing this. I really think it'd be really great for the homeostasis of the community to be able to practice more of our behavioral health types of values, where we can step into a room, be in that political room, and yell and scream and do whatever you want to do, all these things. You know what you're doing. You can really hammer each other. That's great. We all need that at times. I think that's perfect. Or debate religion. Some people really, really like that. And you know what? Go at it. You do it. That's great. And then other people want to just talk religion and be very humble and kind to one another. Have another room for that, so that you can go into a room and feel like you're welcomed, rather than what we're seeing in Facebook as we're seeing like all those, everyone suing Facebook and this and that because of all the behavioral things it's teaching that's ruining our children, ruining our psyches, and because it's all scattered. It's everywhere. So that's part of my background. I have a lot of different kinds of background. And plus, when living up in the Ozarks and stuff like that, learned all kinds of sewing techniques and hunting. And I used to go shoot squirrel and skin them and give them.
How old were you when you came to Delaware?
Oh, I was born here in the old hospital.
Oh, so you just visited the Ozarks?
Yeah, we just visit. Yeah, I visit every summer. Yeah, with my family over there. No, yes, I only visited. Yeah, but it was really, really great. But I want to also say what I wanted for the community too is the fishing industry really, I mean, we should have a fishing industry a lot more than we are. And our disadvantaged community situation that we keep having as an excuse for our grants, that's been real interesting. And it's been putting our community at more of a disadvantage now. Because it's not working anymore. It used to work. It was needed at one time to get, revenue flowing. But now we're just kind of needing to go back to the general plan that was, thought of in the late 80s and kept developing until the late 90s. And then they finally put on paper in 2001. And that general plan had the wastewater treatment plant moved to the old Peep Ranch behind Safeway. There's a bought property back there and everything. And we just been in this pattern that it's not feasible. It's not feasible. We just keep saying that. But now it's just a train wreck. Our infrastructure under the ground's cracking, separating, leaking. We're going to have to do repairs under the ground regardless. So the investment has to go under the ground anyways. Why not start the investment the right way and start working it to be plumbed just a few more blocks away? And that would be a huge improvement within our water supply. That's a huge, because the chemicals would not be allowed. It wouldn't have so many chemicals going on in our environment, which would help our fishing. We don't want to fish and have the chemicals from our wastewater treatment plant out there anymore. It's an old system, and we need to now. The general plan back in 2001, they were ahead of their time. That's what they wanted for this community. They wanted to heal that area. That's the old logging area that has industrial chemicals too. And by putting wastewater treatment plant there would help heal that as well. It would just be a win-win-win, because then we'd also have a fishing industry that would be much more productive because the system would be able to handle it, for one, and two, it wouldn't be so expensive. The power supply that it takes to do all of that fish processing and things, and plus the cleaning of the membranes. There's so much maintenance going on. It's not cost efficient.
So you said it's a couple of blocks, but if I'm not mistaken, to take it from where it currently is, just put it up behind Safeway, is anywhere from 12 to 15 blocks. That's more than
No.
a couple of blocks.
You're not literally going to pull it up and take it somewhere.
So what are you talking about? Right, the wastewater treatment plant is over there off of Front Street.
Yeah.
Front Street and B Street.
That footprint is
by the B Street Pier.
It's just, it's a different system. It's just a different system altogether.
So you just want to build a whole new system?
Well, yes, it would have to be a wetland system. Okay. Completely different.
You want to build a wetland system, so it wouldn't be, what about overflow in the rainy season?
Well, that's the thing.
Where's the outlet?
A wetland system automatically adjusts. That's the beauty of it.
So if we have, instead of 70 inches of rain, we get 90. I mean, that's what an average is. Sometimes
yes.
You get a whole bunch, and sometimes you get a little less.
I've done some research, but if you look up the wet water systems, plus we see Arcata has one, and then they lift up and drop. They're on like an adjusted base type of system, and there's different types of systems, but it adjusts.
The ocean or a creek to take it out to the ocean?
Oh, well, there is a creek. Yeah, there is a creek. Okay. Yeah. Elk Creek goes right out, and there's like a big labyrinth of wetland out there, and so it could be, labyrinths around until
so Elk Creek would be the outlet, and so it would still go back out to the ocean right
after it's been filtered and all the areas. Yes, and it would.
And how much would that cost to do?
I'm not sure, but it would be a lot less than I've looked into. I don't know all the numbers, but the transition of it's going to take an investment, and the fact is we're going to have to put an investment of $50 to $80 million anyways. Why not start that investment in the right direction rather than keep us here another 20 years? Otherwise our fish industry, we're just still going to see more chemicals out there with our fish. This disadvantaged community label is affecting our fish industry, is affecting how we handle our harbor. we really need to start getting funding in the right direction for the growth of our community, because we're seeing green processing food plant that's going to be built. We're going to see a meat processing plant built. We need a fish processing plant.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I know I've heard different things about how they're going to put one in the harbor.
Yeah, well, we're going to have a grant. No, we'll have to have grants, just different type of grants.
What type of grant?
Circular community type of grants, biotherapy. We have to, denounce our formal identity in order to actually get the grants appropriate. We keep relying on the disadvantaged community label, and that's the problem. It doesn't match what direction our community is actually going in. And you can see that in the building permits. You can see the communities wanting the building permits that is wanting to see more positive growth for our sustainable industries, for our food processing, our meat processing, and hopefully our fish processing. That would bring in a lot more for our community for revenue. That would be bringing like that homeostasis out. I keep talking about, we'd feel a lot better about it,
If grants are just our tax dollars being reallocated back to us, what difference does it make if it's a grant that they call Fred or a grant they call Ethel?
Because it's the direction it goes in. The disadvantaged community will keep our old wastewater treatment plant there.
So if we called it something different, we can move the wastewater treatment plant?
As long as we are identifying our community not as disadvantaged, then we can start applying and asking the state for help. And that's actually what I've been doing I do a lot of quiet work. I don't like to, I know I haven't really, people are going, what are you doing? You're not even doing the campaign thing or whatever. You're just going to the city council meetings and then we don't see you forever. And then you go to city council meetings. I'm just doing a lot of research and trying to talk to the water board and working on listening to the community. I've had some people, I almost wasn't going to run this time until I had a few people go, gosh, this bringing up to me the different things when I'm like, oh yeah, I know, I've heard, gosh, you've had a lot of ties and, your dad's police sergeant and your grandfather and, help build the community and stuff. And what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And what do you think what's going on here? And could you investigate this? And it's like, well, yeah, I need to start finding some answers. And that's what I've been kind of doing all year, since the end of last year. I've been starting to work towards looking for those answers that everyone's complaining about. That's what I'm saying, the homeostasis. And that's where we just need to work towards growth that works, where people's nervous systems are going, this isn't in alignment with our community, either it be culturally or because of people on fixed incomes, people have private properties. These different things are not in alignment that people are having issues with. A big part of it is we need to be finding some alignment within what feels good here. And we are looking at the growth, the direction we're looking at is taking care of ourselves. That's what feels good. This disadvantaged community label does not allow us to take care of ourselves. It gives an excuse that we don't. So we are needing to work towards the behavioral health aspect. I've put in an extension to the 5-year proposal that Eric Weir has proposed. I've been ignored so far, but hopefully I'm making enough of a noise that I'll be looked at and have a seat with him and be able to talk with him at some point. I think that, he's not really sure how to take me, and that's okay. But I look forward in starting to really work with this community and start make it a little bit more of a drive in the right direction. And I'm tired of having the community be ignored, and also myself being ignored. But I'm quiet though when, a little bit. I allow people, their space, but it's time. It's time to start moving forward and making a little bit more. That's why I've decided to kind of start coming out a little bit more. Right. And I'm only quiet only to a point though. Right. So, and also, I have big thoughts about wanting to do, I put an article in the newspaper. So that's going to be seen too, of kind of a little bit more of, I think so. And so that's going to be a little bit more of a tale about what I really want to be doing. So anyone can contact me and ask me questions about what, if they want to be involved or whatever. I would really want to help Redwood School start developing skills for the children for farming and help support. I think that people that are in a position of power need to take that power and do something with it and invest it. And I think that supervisors get paid far too much, quite honestly. And so I want to, every month, take about half of my income and start investing it for the community and my own property, and as well as Redwood School and in the surrounding areas within the district, and help support my district to teach children what farming's about, get their hands dirty, how to can, how to harvest, how to plant, and establish a little garden in the community, maybe right close by Portic Market. I've kind of been talking over the years to some of the locals there. I don't want to, really put it out there too much, but, be indefinite that that's what's going to be happening. But that's what I've been working towards. And that way.
I'm a big fan of every yard should have a garden.
Right. And I think every community should have one too. And from Fort Dick, the way that it is there's lots of people growing their own food and everything, but where's our community garden? I want to see the kids not just walk down to the store and go pick out something down there when they, go over, they do that. That's really special for the kids, and they get some special deal. They walk down the store. Well, what if they walk down not too far from the school, or maybe the school itself, but and went into the garden and did some gardening,
right? Or just randomly,
right?
Food,
or yes, or walk
outside.
Exactly,
play all day and
exactly. And so this whole situation with the wastewater treatment plant, I didn't want to get into a lot of these. This is the boring part, kind of, sort of,
That's what government is.
I know, but and the serious part of it, and it's harder to talk about. So I kind of saved it to the end a little bit more.
Okay.
But I just want to mention it just a little bit. But it's not, because this is where the fight's been, why I've been kind of quiet, because there's been a lot of studying, a lot of things that you got to work on and talk and to people and it's really interesting because there's a team people. There's several individuals from the community I touch bases with and learn from and go research and they tell me things and I go tell them things and they go do that and they go research and we get back together and we start talking. Well, what did you find about that? Okay, I looked at this and looked at that and then I asked so and so because well they know about this. Oh yeah, oh they know. Oh well, how it is. And so we've been really just doing this thing all year now. Been several of us, and it's been trying a little bit. And so we have been finding a lot more out internally. And this 218 thing, it's a real crying shame because really don't need to be doing it. We have quite a bit of things that the reason why we shouldn't really have it at all. And since I really feel that the supervisors must be going to the city council meetings every once in a while, listening to people's complaints, and actually representing their individual district.
Do they
Or-
need to be in the city council meetings, like in the chamber? Or
That's
can they
what-
just watch it online? Because I don't go down there. I watch it
But
online.
whichever way, but they have to start addressing people's concerns because so many people have been ignored. Just ignored. People just keep screaming.
You've been ignored.
A little bit, sure. I guess no one likes change, you know. You put out an advancement to your 5-year proposal, and it's just kind of a little bit threatening, I'm sure, and that's okay. I haven't pushed too much, but it's starting to get time, that I want to start like the wastewater treatment plant. I want to see its old footprint once it's moved. Fingers crossed, that its old footprint is where we will help teach each other about skills and stuff that are going to be helpful for the community, like the ferreting, horseshoeing, or,
Is doing that in prime real estate by the beach the best place to put something like that?
Well, it's there. We might as well use it for something for the community that's going to be beneficial. That's all I'm thinking about, unless there's something better. Because I was thinking
I'm just asking.
we could have a meeting place there. It's a place for people who could come and meet. It's already kind of a meeting place anyways, right? So why don't we just keep that going and extend it to where there's meetings for people and have barbecues and potlucks. I'm all about that. I think when people that feed each other, stick together and tell stories a lot more, because you start eating, you start feeling your belly, you start feeling great with each other. That drunkenness you get when you're sharing food, it's an amazing feeling. And
There's a reason why we say breaking bread.
It-
You make peace.
oh, absolutely. Yeah, exactly. So I really believe in that in the community. We need to retouch in that. I think it's not really looked at as that important, but once it's not there, you realize how much you're missing. It's so vital to our nervous system as a community to keep practicing that and knowing, what our neighbor's about, who it is. And like Joey, at the meeting, we were razzing each other after the thing, and oh yes, I went over there and I grabbed a table and I flipped it over and started cleaning. Then he ran around and grabbed another table, and we were doing this, and then he grabbed 2 tables, and I was like, oh, what? At the same time, I said, oh, Joey, 2 tables. Now you're showing off, Joey. So he laughs. It's important. We're not here to fight. We're not here to. We're on the same team. We have different views, and I hope if he becomes supervisor again, that he starts taking in the ideas I have, other supervisors. They're also coming to the table and saying, these things are important. So whoever it is that does become supervisor for each district, I hope that they also listen to what has been important, not just for the other supervisors that are up here, and doing their thing, but for the community. Because when they have complaints, it doesn't just go away. You can't just keep silencing them. It does no good. That's why we see this train wreck we're seeing. We definitely know things need to change.
It's true.
We feel it. It's like I keep saying this like kind of hippie woo-woo thing, this homeostasis in our, our nervous system, but we feel it. It is. I know. It only never gets fixed, and nothing ever changes if no one listens. If no one ever allows vulnerability and allows that whole, the feeling of, well, we don't really want to look at people's opinions too much because of too many chiefs, right? And I think that's good. I think we should look at all those options and consider them. I think that that's fair. I think silencing them in these games where they'll, propose something, and if people have a problem, they'll quiet it down for a while and then wait till people think that it's gone, I've seen that pattern. I know everybody does, but no one wants to admit it, because I grew up with it and I see it. And it's disgusting. It really is. Because then they'll come back up and hope everyone forgot about it. And that's why everyone says, oh, they never do nothing. They always talk, never until, oh my gosh, didn't know that was going to happen. I thought they forgot about that. I thought that they weren't going to do that because they brought that up 2 years ago. And then we complained about it. And then they stopped. And now they did it again. And we didn't see it coming. And then their excuses, well, we've had on the books last 5 years. Where have you been? Guess you haven't been around. These games need to stop. This is what needs to stop. This is what I'm talking about with our community, the homeostasis and the balance that need to be listened to. We need to be honest. If we have something on the board, we have building permits, we have these things. Let's be honest. Let's present it. Let's have people yell and scream about it. Let's talk about it. Well, you know how it is. Well, however it is, what I mean. But let's talk about why. Why is this a disruption? What can we do with it? What can we, like this big monstrosity we have, this, I think it's 140 to 200 units in that one spot over there. Wow, that's a lot. Right, and there has been a lot of that. a little bit off and on.
Seawood's the nice place to live.
Oh, the Seawood. Oh, I'm sorry. I got the other one. I got the other one mixed up with the other one that we have too. Right. Well, it was a different community back then too. Right, we did because it was big, but it was a different community back then. We didn't have the things we're seeing now today, or people coming up from down south like we are today. That is another difference. And because of everything else, we already feel that's out of alignment. It's just not another thing. I think that's part of it, And another big part of it is what's going to happen when that needs to be plugged in to the infrastructure that's already failing. We can't keep grandfathering in this infrastructure. We just can't. We need to have it moved. Heal our wet water area and help what used to be there for logging. It was going to be transitioned back in the 90s. It's time. We need to move forward with our economy, with our balance. And another very boring thing about 218 too, that is there's no need for it because we have a $12 million enterprise fund that for the 218 to even be here, be promoted, it had to be a less cost alternative, and it's not. Not only is it not the least cost alternative, because we have this excess of the 12 million enterprise fund still sitting there, it also is charging residents twice as much for their water and sewer, or almost not both of them, but then the industries they almost have their rates cut in half. That's just the industries on the paper they sent in mail. Yeah, you go look on when they sent in the mail. Local businesses, yeah. So the industries, versus residents, that's all I'm saying. Industries versus residents, they get cuts. Why they get cuts? But for a footprint that is an industrial footprint, why do residents have to pay for that? It's a maintenance for a failing system that putting our private properties in jeopardy. That's not fair. Lots of people on fixed incomes.
Right.
That's the excuse. And that's not what's been true in other communities.
So
All
nobody ever
across
has
the
to raise
nation.
utility bills?
No, that's not what I'm saying. We would be better off if we wanted to try to pay for this like this in this way out of our own pockets. It'd be safer for our own private properties if we took out a special tax and asked also for other industries, because it is an industrial building. If we had other industries like the casinos, because they have definitely benefited from this community, and also lots of people have lost their properties because of it. But if we asked industries to help and have a special tax, to maybe have the match special tax that we would be paying, it'd be coming out of our pockets either way, but at least we would be safer having it that way than having it directly involve our properties. If we are not paying our bills, then we are losing our property, versus a tax that we go and if we can't, and that's another reason why having our community become sustainable and having food sustainability, we will have that wealth that'll help subsidize people who are paying that tax. That's just one way of paying that. Mm-hmm. There's one more thing, yes, and so that is true. But when it comes to our infrastructure, they're also using our infrastructure over at the Elk Valley Casino. And it would be nice if they had something to do with payment for it to help the community instead of it effectively affecting those on their own personal properties, because ultimately, if you look across the nation, that's what the 218 does. It inevitably will either force a property to not be able to afford their bills, and they'll have to either have storage units, extra units in order to afford them. So it's just this forced situation that a rural area is urbanized unnaturally. And that's the whole process. If you look it up on the 218 and other communities, it eventually just causes urbanizations where we don't want them. That's the ultimate. And that's the reason why it would be safer having a special tax, even though that doesn't sound great, but neither does having our water and sewer so high. And it wouldn't put our private properties in such a position that it could be lost or forced urbanized instead of, and supporting the community with those taxes, because we would be having more food available and growing our own food in our own ground, and having it be much more inexpensive would help with that, balance that tax out. So that's, there's a lot of answers. And yes, thank you. Yeah. Awesome. Yes. Thank you so much.
If you would